Hello writers! Well, I'm so happy that you can join me today, and I hope you're just as excited as I am about Avengers Age of Ultron coming out. Yes, if you haven't figured it out already, I'm something of a geek. I thoroughly enjoy the superhero fandom, particularly Marvel. That would be my absolute favorite, and a number of others. And one of the things that I want to do is use some of the writing lessons that I've used with a few of my tutees and students to help them understand certain concepts in writing. So I'm happy that you get to join me for that, and let's have some fun. Story ideas come to us in many different ways. Sometimes they arrive in these bold, beautiful strokes of brilliance. They just explode inside of our minds. They reveal these tremendous possibilities, intricate characters, amazing dialogue, startling turn of events, nuanced discussions, and so much more. Those are my favorites, and they seem like the absolute best. Other times, though, the story idea may lead to a false start, forcing you to ultimately abandon it. In other cases, it just takes a little bit longer for you to find the story as you carefully consider the possibilities and unveil the options, mulling them over before at last you discover the perfect idea to write about. Now, getting the idea is often the easy part, at least comparatively. No matter how it comes, once you have it, you have to decide whether you are going to follow one of two primary methods. And those two methods are...
Stark, we need a plan of attack!
I have a plan. Attack.
Well, as you can see, there are some differences between these two approaches. The planners obviously want to create a plan. Oftentimes they want to complete the world building as well as the various elements that go into creating a good story. Before they set pen to paper and begin the first few scenes, they want to know as much as possible about this world and the characters that they're creating. Pansters, on the other hand, well, they like to wing it. But let's deal with planners first. Planners, on the whole, tend to have fewer problems with completing their stories so long as they have the tenacity to follow through on what they start. Exploring the world, conducting tests, and creating charts can be a tremendous distraction from the ultimate writing of the project if it isn't kept in check. And sometimes, in fact often, the story itself isn't completed. The allure of the world building can ultimately take over everything else. On the positive side, though, if this is your method and you ultimately decide that you need to take a break from your story, as long as you have these detailed notes set up, you shouldn't have a problem picking it up later. The key, though, is to make sure that you don't procrastinate the writing too long. After a few days of outline and preparing and getting your world established, take the time to actually write. Set aside 15 minutes or so to put pen to paper and start gathering the actual scenes and living in the story and not just planning it. Pansters, on the other hand, prefer the thrill of discovery. They get caught up in the moment and pour themselves into it, living out the story exactly as it happens. Problems develop when the story starts to become too big, or you have to take a break, or you don't explore the other possibilities. Plot holes, contradictions, and other similar problems plague the story. Sometimes it requires a total rewrite before you even finish the final draft. But the worst, it happens when you can't remember that original story idea, when you can't remember the amazing twist or conclusion that you had come up with, the one that made it stand out from everything else. So, you realize you gotta get this done, and you go to your muse or your memory or whatever you're calling it, and you say, hey, give me back that story idea. What was it that I came up with that made this story so great?
I don't have it.
What do you mean you don't have it? I gave it to you so I could have it later, so I could finish the story. Now give it back to me now!
I've sent it off I know not where.
Oh, well, that was helpful. This sort of thing happens all the time. Stephen King actually says that if you have a good idea, you'll remember it, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. But, you know, who's to say that you haven't forgotten some good ideas? I'm pretty sure I have, I just can't remember them. This becomes particularly problematic when you're trying to finish a story and remember everything that you had in it that was going to make it so spectacular. Say you want to enter it into a competition, or a publishing house or agent wants to take a look at it. All wonderful things. Maybe you just want to finish it. But regardless, you still have the problem that you don't remember everything that you put in this story, and you still have to finish it. So you muster up your will, and you try to force your muse to reveal those brilliant twists and turns that are locked somewhere in your mind. You thought of them, you know they're in there. If you could just get it, your story would be brilliant. And then your muse stabs you in the back. Depressing, isn't it? Maybe my muse is a little bit more of a psychopath, but this has happened to me on more than one occasion, and this is basically my response. No! However, there are some ways that you can outsmart your muse, and if this helps you, then by all means use it. First, when you start writing, have a separate pad of paper next to you. Every time you complete a scene or a chapter, write down a couple lines about what happened, which characters were involved. Have a separate list with your names and who the characters are, including locations, particularly if you write fantasy or science fiction or anything where you're making up the names. Trust me, you're going to be so glad that you have that saved off. Also, go ahead and add in the physical descriptions of your characters. There are a few things. There are a few things more frustrating than realizing that you don't remember how you described a character's physical appearance, and now you have to go through 350 pages to see what color eyes does he have. Also, whenever you have an idea for a twist, a turn, a character arc, an artifact, a smoking gun, whatever it is, put it down on a piece of paper. Your muse, your memory, is not your friend. So whether you're a planner or a pantster or a hybrid of the two, what matters is that you actually write the stories, finish them, and then get them out there, because the world needs even more great stories. So thanks so much for stopping by. I'll talk to you all again later. Bye.